Hi, I'm Jules and you're watching Catalyst Plus TV, the place to be to make more possible. Now, not everybody has been so fortunate to get themselves a tax refund this year. Some people have actually had a tax debt, and that tax debt has been a lot more than they expected, more than they can pay by the due date in November this year. Now, if you're in this situation, I want you to know that you don't need to stress just yet. There are some solutions for you. Now, if you have a tax agent, you can get in touch with them and explain your situation and ask to get a tax repayment plan with the ATO. But if you've done it on your own, how do you go about it? It's not as daunting as it may seem. You do need to call the ATO on 13 28 61. But there are a few things that you need to know about before you call them. First up, you need to know what you have to have prepared. You need to have your name, your date of birth, and a document reference number, such as the reference number on your notice of assessment. Secondly, you need to understand that the ATO will request you pay your debt within 12 months. If you can pay the debt in one lump sum, but in the future, then you can do that. But if you can't pay it in one lump sum, but you need to do it as a repayment over several months, then the other thing you need to know is the ATO requests that you pay your tax debt in that 12-month period. How do you calculate how much the repayment may be before you call the ATO? Now, if you're paid on a weekly basis, we recommend that you pay your debt on a weekly basis with the ATO. Or if you're paid on a fortnightly or monthly basis, that is also the basis that we request that you pay it with the ATO. Why? Because when you get paid, you just pay a little bit of what your debt is and you don't even notice it. So how do you calculate how much that might be? You take your tax debt and you divide it by how many periods there are in the next 12 months. So say you choose weekly, you would divide the debt by 52 weeks. If it's fortnightly, you would divide the debt by 26 weeks. And monthly, you would divide it by 12. Now you know a rough estimate of how much the ATO will be asking you to pay on that regular schedule. The third thing you need to know is that there is an interest charge involved in getting an ATO tax repayment plan. It's not a lot, but it is interest that you will have to pay. And if you are a good citizen and you pay your tax repayment plan on a regular basis, then you can potentially ask for that interest back at the end of the debt. But you can't expect that that will happen. The fourth thing is that going forward, you have to comply with your tax. That means that you have to ensure that your tax returns are lodged on time and that your debt is paid on time. What are some of the strategies to not get into a tax debt situation at the end of the year? If you're employed, you can ask your employer to take a little bit extra tax out. If you've got that tax debt because you've got a HEX or HELP debt, check with your employer to ensure that they've been taking that HEX and HELP debt on their payroll system. That will just make sure that you are getting the tax withheld as and when you work. Otherwise, if you're doing your tax on your own, you might want to go and see a tax agent. There may be some deductions that you didn't know that you could claim, and you don't need a tax debt in the future. So there you have it. There's how you get a tax repayment plan and a couple of strategies to ensure that next financial year you may not get a tax debt. But in the meantime, have yourself an awesome week, and we'll see you in next week's episode.